Katie Hill flipped a district held by Republicans for more than 20 years in the historic 2018 wave that saw more than 100 women elected to Congress. But less than a year later, then Congresswoman Hill found herself resigning from Congress after her ex-husband leaked revenge porn of her online, which led to an allegation of an inappropriate affair with a staffer. But before she left, she delivered a fiery speech on the House floor, calling out, quote, the dirtiest gutter politics she had ever seen.
I'm leaving, but we have men who have been credibly accused of intentional acts of sexual violence and remain in boardrooms, on the Supreme Court, in this very body, and worst of all, in the Oval Office.
Katie Hill is now detailing her experience in a new book, She Will Rise, Becoming a Warrior in the Battle for True Equality. Former Congresswoman Katie Hill joins me now. Good to see you again. You and I have not talked since you were in Congress, and now you have come out with a book that tells a story many of us thought we knew, but it really tells a lot more. Tell me about this moment that you're in which you're releasing this book, this moment that we are in America, where we're on the footsteps of having a woman named as a vice presidential candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I decided I wanted to launch this book in conjunction with the anniversary, the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which is when women, got the hard-fought right to vote. And, of course, that was only for white women. It took a lot longer for women of color to be able to fully exercise their voting rights. But the truth is that we've come a long ways in these past 100 years, but we've got a long way to go. And it's a monumental feat that we have a woman who is going to become vice president, who is going to be nominated as vice president, and I really think has the best shot at winning. But we still have so much more work to do, and one of the things that we see the most is the double standard to which women are held, and we're seeing this play out perfectly in the VP process.
Let's just dig a little deeper on that one, because we use different language when we talk about women. We criticize different things. As I said yesterday, we ask women for a plan and for receipts, and when we just take men at their word that they're going to do it. But your particular experience was different, particularly about the things that we don't pursue men for, that we destroy women's careers for.
Yeah, I mean, we have someone like Donald Trump who has multiple allegations and proven allegations of sexual assault and certain sexual harassment. And the reality is that we've seen that over and over with male politicians, with male candidates. And of course, in my case, I decided that the right move was for me to step down. And I don't regret that choice. But I think it is a perfect example of when, we hold women to this kind of heightened standard of what we want to see, this sort of, you have to be perfect if you're going to be a female politician. And we do not expect that from men. And in many cases, scandals involving male politicians actually boost their numbers. So I think there's a real reconciliation that we have to have as we're looking at more and more women running for office, being elected to office, making it to the highest levels as a nominee of the party or as a vice presidential nominee for the ticket. Then we really need to rethink the way that we're looking at women, and it's simply not on equal playing field right now. That's why, a big part of the work that I have moving forward is really electing women.
In fact, you've started a political action committee called Her Time, which is devoted to supporting younger women and women of color. What do you hope to achieve with that?
The goal is to get us to actual parity, which means that 50% of elected bodies are made up of women. And I don't think that we're going to be able to achieve true equality until we hit that standard. We've got a huge legislative agenda that is very common sense. And honestly, I don't think it's controversial at all. That can help us really dismantle the barriers that women are facing in terms of equality altogether. But I don't think that we're going to be able to achieve those outcomes until we have enough women who are elected to office. And so really that's the purpose of Her Time. And I think that we have this moment in history where, we know that we're going to have a woman nominated as the vice presidential nominee. And I think that last time in 2016, we saw this as a historic moment. So many of us thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. This is now a time where we realize, such gains are fragile. And we saw that with my own case, right? Those, what we thought was a huge victory, and it was, it can be taken away in a moment's in a moment's notice because of the misogyny and double standards that are at play. So I think we have to have that same realization when it comes to the vice presidential nominee. And I'm concerned about the way we've already treated that process and certainly the way that it's going to be used moving forward.
So what do you say to people, because I've had tweets about it, who say we'd dig up anything on anybody. If you run for president or vice president or any office, people are going to dig stuff up on you, and anything you've ever done, written, tweeted, said will be held against you. How do you see it being different for a woman?
Well, I think that the way that we hold things up for women is different. We have this sort of purity test, or this angelic standard test, where we don't want women to be too ambitious. We want them to be kind and matronly and, appealing but not too sexy. We want them to be, bold but not aggressive. We want them to, be smart but not seem like a know-it-all. And there's this very fine balance that seems to be acceptable, and the reality is that no one can meet that. We've seen that play out over and over again with, oh, I want to elect a woman, or I really want to vote for a woman, but not this woman. Like, I don't really think that she can beat Donald Trump. And we saw that with, so many people playing out. And I think that we just, we're at a place where we can't accept that as the status quo anymore.
One of the things that was very interesting to me when you ran is you have experience in an issue that I really enjoy talking about, because it's such a serious issue that we can solve, and that is homelessness in America. We have 500,000 people, by some estimates, sleeping on the street every night. That was before the pandemic, and now we've got possibly millions who will lose their homes. We don't have any infrastructure in this country to deal with millions of people who will lose their homes. You, like many of your fellow women, freshman congressman, brought a policy focus to Congress, and that was going to be a big step for you, because you had gone from being working at a nonprofit into making law. How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity. I think being in Congress at a time when the Senate was held by Republicans and the White House was held by not only a Republican, but by Donald Trump in particular, you realize it's forced in your face every single day how the limits of the way that our government was set up can be a real barrier to trying to get things done. That said, I'm very optimistic about what we're going to be able to do if we flip the Senate and if we get Joe Biden in the White House, because we have these huge systemic barriers that are in place in terms of income inequality, in terms of money in politics, in terms of the lack of health care for people, and housing, the expensive housing. I think we're seeing that just play out in such a magnified way because of the coronavirus. And all of those at their heart are also women's issues. So I think that this is our moment where we really have to say that we're not going to accept this anymore. And we have to set an aggressive agenda that's going to mean that, it's really about how are we taking these steps to make sure that not only are we solving the issues that have been ignored for the last several years and fixing the damage that has been done by President Trump, but we're really setting out the pathway for moving forward and to creating the sustainable future that all of us want for the next generation.
What does the future hold for you?
Right now I'm really dedicated to the work at Her Time. I'm excited about the PAC. We are supporting candidates, especially young women, women of color, trying to reach the highest levels of elected office. But aside from that, we're also working on mobilizing young women as a voting bloc. I think that has not truly been activated in the way that it could be. So women between the ages of 18 and 40 are sort of our target demographic that we're trying to figure out what are the issues that motivate them most. And I don't think it's ones that you will necessarily expect right off the bat. And how do we ensure that is useful as a political force moving forward so that we can go on with our agenda? So I'm excited for that.
Former Congressman Katie Hill, thank you for joining us. It is good to see you again. Katie Hill's new book, She Will Rise, is out tomorrow.